Michigan's President Santa Ono tells the Big Ten to pound sand regarding Jim Harbaugh. Plus, we had an amazing weekend of football. Locked On Big Ten starts right now.
You are Locked On Big Ten, your daily podcast on the Big Ten Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Big Ten. I'm Craig Sheeman. Thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And these days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. That's why LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the right people for your team faster and for free. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnCollege. Terms and conditions apply. Well, it looks like Michigan's going to stand by their man. We will have all the latest going back to a very busy end of last week and let you know what happened throughout the weekend there regarding SpyGate and Jim Harbaugh. We will actually recap some games. There were some actual games we want to talk about. Plus, we'll have our Big Ten Top 10 as well. Stay tuned for that. And be sure to subscribe down below if you don't mind. And follow Locked On Big Ten for free wherever you get your podcast. That way, you'll get the latest episode of this podcast as soon as it becomes available each and every day. All right. Well, it looks like Big Ten Commissioner Tony Petitti asked Michigan President Santa Ono to do his dirty work for him and self-impose a 2-game suspension on football coach Jim Harbaugh regarding the SpyGate story. More on that and how that came about in just one moment. But first, there have been long-standing rumors that Ohio State may have actually been the ones that turned in Michigan and busted them and caused this whole SpyGate investigation to take place. Over the weekend, I was reading an article from SI via The Spun, and they had quotes in the Wolverine that said Michigan is reportedly gathering evidence that may link Buckeyes head coach Ryan Day to the investigation of the sign-stealing allegations against Michigan. Michigan reportedly has documents that link one of the investigators to Timothy Day, Ryan Day's brother. Another suspect is allegedly linked to Christopher Day, another brother, and that was a classmate of Tim Day's back in the day in New Hampshire. And one of these investigators that were digging in on Michigan before the NCAA got involved, allegedly, runs a private investigation firm in New Hampshire. Tie it all together. Other sources at Michigan allege that a spreadsheet that was given to the Washington Post that had all of Connor Stallion's budget and travel plans for his scouting operation, for which he allegedly paid other people to attend games and videotape the opposing team's signals, that apparently was allegedly obtained by someone who illegally gained access to Stallion's computer. Law enforcement is supposedly looking into that allegation as well. When Ryan Day was asked about all of this on Friday, the night before the Rutgers game, he said, quote, "No comments right now." Just a forward response. "No comments right now," quote unquote. If you did not join us for our live version of Locked On Big Ten on Saturday night, we do live ones as well, in addition to these Monday through Friday. Let's catch you up on the rapidly changing events in this Michigan story and the timeline. Some of this you know, some of this you may not. So we'll go back to last Wednesday. Wednesday, the Big Ten coaches, as you know, they had their weekly conference call with Commissioner Tony Petitti. Several league coaches were very emotional. They demanded that Petitti step up right now and punish Jim Harbaugh and Michigan for this SpyGate situation. These coaches are certain that Michigan is guilty, and they did not want to wait until the NCAA investigation concludes in this matter, because that would be well into 2024 by the time that's a wrap. The following day, on Thursday, the conference athletic directors had a similar conference call with Petitti and the same ask. They wanted him to step in and do something. Petitti said, he listened to him, and he said, "Look, I got to talk to the presidents next." And that also included a conversation with Michigan President Santa Ono. Later that day, again, we're still on Thursday here, Ono emailed Petitti and said, "Don't rush to judgment. Michigan is owed due process here by the NCAA investigation, so don't be slapping any suspensions on anybody right now. Let's let the investigation play out. Michigan has their side of the story to tell. Well, both sides did speak on Friday, Petitti and Ono, and at least one report stated that Petitti asked Ono to just do everyone a favor. Just go ahead and self-suspend your coach, Jim Harbaugh, for 2 games. It'll look good. President Ono reportedly told Petitti to, quote-unquote, get lost. So there's no evidence here. Stop it. We're not doing that. Meanwhile, Connor Stalions, the Michigan analyst and assistant at the center of the story, on Friday, he resigned his position. He had been suspended, as you remember, with pay up to this point. That pay was $55,000 a year. Stalions said that he no longer wanted to be a distraction to the program that he loves. Stalions' lawyer issued a statement that said Jim Harbaugh and his staff did not knowingly, or according to Stalions, his lawyer, they did not know of any situation where Jim Harbaugh and his staff directed anybody to break any NCAA rules. Further said in a statement that Harbaugh and the staff had no knowledge of Stalions' conduct throughout this whole spy situation and the scouting situation. Harbaugh, of course, has maintained he did nothing wrong nor knew of anything nefarious going on all along. Add to that story, of course, the Wall Street Journal's report last week that said Harbaugh's imminent huge contract extension was going to be rescinded. Well, Harbaugh said earlier in the week that report was inaccurate. Another story came out in the past couple of days that said that contract extension is full steam ahead. Michigan administrators are going to still give Harbaugh the big fat contract extension. We may have a situation where we have Harbaugh suspended and getting a big fat $10 million a year contract as well, and all at the same time. It's great, and be playing out these games at the end of the season. It's absolutely unbelievable what is going on right now. Now, the Wolverines were on a bye week this past week, as you know, while all of this was going on. And that outside noise must have been pretty loud to everybody, and I'm sure they were more than thrilled just to get back on the field and play a game, which they did Saturday night, national TV, NBC, taking on Purdue. They beat the Boilermakers pretty handily, 41-13. Blake Corum scored 3 touchdowns in that game. J.J. McCarthy threw for a season-high 335 yards in that game. And also Roman Wilson caught 9 passes for 143 yards. Those are season highs for him in both categories. So right now, the Wolverines are now 9-0. They are 6-0 on the Big Ten, and they have a huge game facing Penn State on Saturday, which will be all over here on Locked On Big Ten. So there you have it. It is a lot that has gone on since like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday through the weekend, in addition to the games. And we're going into the week with all this, just holding our breath going, what's next out of this story? What do you think is next? Would love your comments. Hit us up on Twitter at TalkBig1010. Also, don't forget to check out our website, TalkBig1010.com. And your comments here on YouTube are always welcome as well. We did have some intriguing games this past weekend. A nice schedule of games throughout the Big Ten. Let's actually talk about some football other than what's going on off the field with the Michigan program. We will do that in 1 minute right here on Locked On Big Ten. You know, at first, I want to tell you about Athletic Brewing. And, you know, they've got the game changer of the week. The Athletic Brewing game changer of the week's got to be Illinois backup quarterback John Paddock. Came in, they had an injury to Luke Altmaier at the end of the game. Came in, converted on a 4th and 11, final drive, 3 of 3, 85 yards, including a 46-yard touchdown versus Minnesota with 50 seconds to go. And Illinois ends up winning the game. That was our game changer of the week. Brought to you by Athletic Brewing Company. Athletic Brewing has completely changed the non-alcoholic beer game. They may make non-alcoholic beers that actually taste fantastic. In fact, I can have some right here. Check that out. Put it on screen for those of you that may not be watching on video right now. Their brews are great tasting and award-winning, and they beat out full-strength beers in global competitions. They brew over 50 styles of craft non-alcoholic beer, including IPAs, Goldens, Sours, and more. They're fit for all times, so you could drink them anytime, anywhere, and make any activity even more enjoyable, like watching a game or, you know, doing some work in the yard, working out. No hangovers ever. You can find Athletic in store, online, and at bars around the country. And you can find it at a store near you. I found it at a store near me just the other day, even though I had them previously mailed to me and sent to me, shipped to me. They're in the local stores everywhere now. First-time customers can use Locked On to get 15% off your first order. That's code Locked On, LOCKEDON, at checkout for 15% off at athleticbrewing.com. Near beer. Exclusions and conditions apply. Athletic Brewing Company, fit for all times. So let's actually look at some football games. So Tony, Michigan beat Purdue, right? All right. So the Ohio State Buckeyes, interesting game at Rutgers. We thought it would be an interesting game, and that Rutgers is no pushover. They're going to a bowl. They play really good defense. They have a nice running game. And in fact, Rutgers led Ohio State at the half 9-7. And the Buckeyes, though, even though they had a depleted backfield defensively, their corner Jordan Hancock grabbed a deflected pass for a 93-yard interception, returned it for a touchdown. That got the Buckeyes rolling at that point, and the Buckeyes win 35-16 at Rutgers. Marvin Harrison caught a couple of touchdown passes. Travion Henderson continues to be the glue that makes this team go. 128 yards on the ground and a touchdown. And for the second consecutive game, coming back from injury, he has earned over 200 yards from scrimmage. Meanwhile, the Scarlet Knights, they pounded the Buckeyes, usually stout defense. They got 361 yards of offense against the Buckeyes here. Kyle Monangai, a guy that we have talked about numerous times on this podcast, ran for 159 yards, his third straight 100-yard-plus game in a row. But overall, the Buckeyes scoring defense has yet to give up more than 17 points this season. So overall, maybe a little bit of bend, but don't break this week, and a strong second half. Buckeyes are a good second half team. They end up winning that football game. The crazy game of the weekend had to be Illinois at Minnesota. The Fighting Illini were leading this game 21-20 in the fourth quarter. Minnesota forces a fumble. They think they're back in this thing. Ethan Kaliakmanis hits Daniel Jackson with just a perfect pass. Well, probably the best pass I've seen Kaliakmanis throw all season long, to be honest. A 31-yard touchdown strike. A little under 6 minutes to go in the fourth. They take the lead. They go for two. They don't get it. They're up by 5, 26-21. Illinois, in their next possession, the Gophers, Tyler Nubin picks it off. Look, no shame there. Tyler Nubin picks everybody off. That's just what he does with 4 minutes to go. So Minnesota thinks they're rolling. Illinois had one last possession, and Luke Altmaier, he gets hurt. John Paddock, the backup, he comes in, converts a humongous 4th and 11, keeps the drive going, 3 for 3, 85 yards, including a 46-yard touchdown to Isaiah Williams with 50 seconds to go for a 27-26 Illini victory. Great job by them offensively, and a heartbreaker for Minnesota because they're in the thick of this tie and this log jam in the West. Isaiah Williams, by the way, huge day overall, not just that one catch, 13 catches, 131 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Elsewhere around the league, Penn State, they beat Maryland 51-15. Drew Aller, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. Dante Cephas caught 2 of them, by the way. Defense, pretty impressive. Had 6 sacks, 12 tackles for loss. But let's put that aside. That wasn't even the most impressive stat that jumps out at you at this game defensively. Penn State held Maryland. Now, Maryland's a good team, all right, and a good offensive team. They held Maryland to negative 49 yards rushing in this game. Incredible. I mean, there were some Talia losses in there, but none of the running backs did it. I don't think anybody had more than 3 or 5 yards or something like that. They just held everybody in check. Maryland started the season at 5-0. They're now 5-4. Disappointing. I mean, they've been knocking on the door of bowl eligibility for 4 straight weeks now and had a bye in there. So it's been over a month. And, this is a team that had high expectations at the beginning of the year, and I think justifiably so. But again, I've said it before. I'll say it again. I think the second half against the Ohio State Buckeyes broke this Terps football team. It did. They haven't been the same since. What do you think about that? Iowa played Northwestern at Wrigley Field. Did you see pictures of that? Or unless you saw it on Peacock, how they just shoehorned that football stadium in there? They actually got rid of the third base dugout and filled it in with dirt. And I mean, because you needed every inch of the corner of the end zone. If I'm a receiver, I'm telling coach that day, hey, no fade passes to me in that corner because you're going to run into a brick wall over there at Wrigley. And in that game, Iowa was kind of like the most Iowa they've been all season long. For most of the game, they led 7-0. Northwestern came back to tie it. This on the week that they told offensive coordinator Brian Ferentz, you're not going to be back next year, okay? Because we don't have enough offense. So what do? They go out there and have no offense. By the way, they did use Cooper DeJean on offense. Did you see that? He's either great punt returner and defensive back that gets all their interceptions. He's such a great athlete, makes things happen. They put him in on offense for a few plays. But a last-second field goal, 14 seconds to go, a 53-yarder by Drew Stevens wins the game for Iowa. Ladies and gentlemen, Iowa with no offense and all their injuries and all the complaints about how nobody likes them. They are 7-2. 7-2. How about your favorite football team? Would you like them to be 7-2? Unless you're one of the undefeateds. But nevertheless, good job by the Iowa Hawkeyes to get that win. Heartbreaking loss for the Northwestern Wildcats. Wisconsin at Indiana. Tom Allen needed this one. He needed it. They had that good game. They lost to Penn State, but they played their best game of the year last week. Got a little confidence in that and turned it into their first conference win of the season, upsetting Wisconsin 20-14. Brandon Sorsby threw for a touchdown, ran for another. The one he threw was to Donovan McCulley. The pass was high in the end zone. Donovan McCulley, 6'5", former quarterback. They converted him to wide receiver. He's 6'5". He needed every inch of it to jump up and one-hand that catch. In fact, he jumped up a half a second early. He was starting to come back down and was still able to make the catch. It's one of the amazing one-handed grabs of the year, kind of Odell Beckham-ish, if you will. And got the touchdown. And the Badgers, they lose in Bloomington for the first time since 2002. Of course, they're another one of those teams in that heated battle in the West standings in the Big Ten. And the Badgers, kind of like Maryland, they're going to have to wait yet another week to get over the hump and become bowl eligible and get that 6th win. Now, in all fairness to Wisconsin, they play without their starting quarterback, Tanner Mordecai, who, as you know, was hurt a few weeks ago. Chimere Dike, their wide receiver, he was out. And their top 2 running backs were out for this game, all out with injuries. So certainly a depleted Wisconsin Badgers team in this game. But nonetheless, IU will take the win, no doubt. Michigan State also got its first conference win. They took on a smoking red-hot Nebraska team. So congrats to the Spartans for doing that. And Caden Hauser threw a touchdown pass. Sam Levitt came in. He threw a touchdown pass. And 2 starters picked off Heinrich Harburg. So they got 2 interceptions in this game. The Michigan State beating Nebraska 20-17. The Huskers had won 5 of 6. So just a horrible, rough season for Michigan State with everything that those players have gone through and the Mel Tucker story. And it probably felt really good for them to get a win finally. So congratulations to Michigan State doing that in front of the home fans, as a matter of fact. Also, I want to thank all of you who check us out. Whether you checked us out live over the weekend, a lot of you did. That was cool. Thank you. Or if you're a regular everydayer, thank you for being that. Asking you all to subscribe if you can. If you haven't, down below, we're flying through the roof with the subscriptions. Crossed over 4,000 this week. So that was great. And you can do that. It's free. Just click it on and you're good to go. No other obligation. Costs you nothing. And you're part of our Big Ten club. Share, follow, and like Locked On Big Ten. Tell your friends about us if they're Big Ten alum. We would really appreciate it. And don't forget, on Fridays, we also have our Locked On College Football Kickoff Live show at 11 a.m. till noon. It's live, although you can catch it after the fact, too. I'm on that for a few minutes as well on this very Locked On Big Ten YouTube channel. So I have made some observations from over the weekend, as I always do, and I put it together in our Big Ten Top 10. I'll share that with you. Let's compare notes. I know you saw some great things, too. That's all coming up in a minute right here on Locked On Big Ten. You know, I've been in a position where I've had to hire people before. It's tough. It's tough. You don't want to make a mistake. It's kind of like a coach deciding, do you want to cut a player or put a player on a team? Same thing at the office. And these days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. You want to be 100% certain that you have access to the best qualified candidates available. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps find the right people for your team faster and for free. So you post a job and you have your purple hashtag hiring frame and the LinkedIn profile. It spreads the word to everybody that you're hiring. The word is out. That's the first part. Simple tools like screening questions make it easy to focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience so you can quickly prioritize who you'd like to interview and eventually hire, because that is the purpose of all this. It's also why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. All right, I told you, as we do every Monday, we come out and we put out our Big Ten top 10. These are observations. This could be players, teams, any sort of thing. And I just rank them 1 through 10. I'm going to put them on the video on the screen here. If you're not watching, if you're listening audio only, I will describe what they are and put them on the screen. And we start out number 10, Iowa's 10-7 win versus Northwestern at Wrigley Field. I thought the concept of Wrigley Field was cool. I thought Iowa winning a game 10-7 is cool. That's just what Iowa does. So we'll put that on there. And then now they're 7-2. At number 9, Indiana's Donovan McCulley. That catch I just told you about. Very Odell Beckham Jr.-ish, like with his touchdown grab for the Hoosiers in their first conference win of the year. At number 8, give a shout out to Michigan State's defense. I told you about the 2 interceptions that they had against Nebraska, but they also had 7 sacks, 12 tackles for loss, 6 pass breakups, and a fumble recovery. It was really a thing of beauty defensively for the Spartans. So congratulations to them. Speaking of defense, at number 7, we're going to give a shout out to Penn State's defense. I told you that they held Maryland to negative 49 yards rushing. That's amazing any day of the week. So you don't see that too often. At number 6, going to put in Michigan's Blake Corum, his 3-touchdown performance Saturday night under the lights against the Purdue Boilermakers. He is just on a roll. I think that's 14, 15. That's 16 on the season. Just did some quick math for you there while we're doing this. At number 5, Penn State quarterback Drew Aller, 4 touchdowns and no interceptions this weekend. At number 4, Ohio State defensive back Jordan Hancock, who had the 93-yard interception return for a touchdown. At number 3 on my top 10 observations over the weekend, Rutgers running back Kyle Monangai, 24 carries, 159 yards. Got to give him a shout out for that. And at number 2, Ohio State running back Travion Henderson. Of course, Ohio State played Rutgers, so a great matchup of running backs here. And Henderson, 22 carries, 128 yards, and a touchdown. Also caught 5 balls for 80 yards. I mean, he's got to be – I know there's Marvin Harrison Jr., but when you talk about MVPs for this team, he's got to be in the conversation. But I don't want to take away from Marvin Harrison Jr. They're both fantastic. Both fantastic, absolutely. And at number 1, Illinois quarterback John Paddock coming in the last couple minutes of the game and saving the day. The 3-for-3 pass completions, 85 yards, game-winning touchdown, the 4th and 11 conversion, breaking Minnesota's heart. Just a wonderful, wonderful effort by him coming in cold. I think he's a Ball State transfer, if I'm not mistaken. So he got his chance, and good job to him. So there you have it. Those are my Big Ten top 10. Feel free to comment on Twitter at Talk Big Ten number 10 or here on YouTube if you're watching on the video. Always look forward to those comments. Tons of comments from you guys over the weekend. I'm still mowing through them. Thank you very much. I always appreciate those very, very much. All right. Again, between Twitter, between YouTube, the website, talkbig10.com with the number 10. Check us out. Thanks for being part of the group. If you're not, subscribe down below. Just click it and then you're done. It takes a half a second and it doesn't cost anything. And you're part of our Big Ten Club. Feel free to follow this podcast right now on your favorite podcast app, and you'll get the latest episode of Locked On Big Ten as soon as it becomes available each and every day. These get blasted out every morning, Monday through Friday, bright and early. And you can check them out, listen, and watch wherever you are at any time throughout the day. Also want to invite you to check out the Locked On Sports Today podcast for the latest on everything else going on in sports. Have yourself a great day. Thank you again for checking us out, and I can't wait till we talk again next time. For Locked On Big Ten, I'm Craig Sheeman.